Greetings and salutations, folks. Welcome to the Da Vinci Code, the game based on the book by Dan Brown, rather than the movie that had been released on that exact same day. If you're not familiar with the book, it was published back in 2003 and followed famed symbologist Robert Langdon as he finds himself having to solve a murder mystery in order to prove his own innocence. Conveniently, the knowledge of historical symbols and their meaning would be a prerequisite to solving the mystery. It was a breakout hit for Dan Brown, though it wasn't the first Robert Langdon book. While I would argue Angels and Demons is similar in quality to the Da Vinci Code, it didn't bring along the same level of religious controversy that the Da Vinci Code had. Both dealt with Christianity, however Angels and Demons mystery dealt with the actions of people manipulating the system, whereas the revelations in the Da Vinci Code were on a grander scale. Here, however, is the video game. It is developed by The Collective, a company that never really developed anything particularly interesting until it became Double Helix, and developed Killer Instinct on the Xbox One. So this is a look into their past. A man is found murdered. A killer is on the loose, and only a college professor and his French sidekick can stop him. Now, to look behind the curtain somewhat, this is actually my third time playing through this beginning section of game. The first time was just to see how it was. The second time was to actually try to record it. But there was a screw-up or an error or something fell apart with the Elgato capture thing, and the video decided it wanted to stop recording like 15 minutes into the game. So, I will try my best to appear surprised by plot twists. At the very least, you don't have to worry about me struggling at puzzles, because I will have already done them and struggled before, and they will appear much less embarrassing. But don't worry yourselves. That kind of high-quality puzzle solving that's going to happen in this episode, it's not going to carry on. I'm also going to somewhat try to remember what I said in the previous recording. Like, I still have the audio recording, and that's all good. But then I don't really want to have to worry about trying to sync up what I said to the events. Like, there's this guy who's the villain. He's got some sort of, like, band tied about his thigh as kind of like a way of, like, penance. Like, his own version of, self-flagellation.
I am God's hand. I serve God's will.
Now, I remember later on in this story that becomes a problem for him.
My lecture at the American University had been followed by an unexpected invitation to a crime scene.
His lecture at the American University.
Thank you for coming. I am Captain Bezoufash. Do you know this man?
Is there a university called the American University?
The curator of the Louvre. I was supposed to meet him tonight after my speech.
Follow me.
So this is a pretty cool sequence in which it's jumping back and forth between the present and the past, as you see the museum curator being chased after by the villain. This is only the last time you'll see him with clothes on.
So nearly got away.
You should not have run, Monsieur Saunier. Now, tell me where it is.
Please, I beg you.
Where is it?
All right, I will tell you.
stars were no defense.
I believe you. The others told me the same.
So there is an American University of Paris. On their webpage, it says, "Our founder had a clear vision, an American-style education that fearlessly crosses cultural and geographical borders." Which, in theory, makes sense. Not everybody's quite the same melting pot that the United States is. And even though there are lots of pockets of isolation, there's still a high amount of chance that any university you go to is very diverse. But luckily the professor, the museum curator, was kind enough to cover up his junk before he finally died. But he did a lot of stuff before he died. He did a lot of stuff. Like, he painted this symbol of the divine feminine as Professor Langdon is about to school you in.
It's a pentacle, one of the oldest symbols on Earth, used over 4,000 years before Christ.
Devil worship.
No, the pentacle is a pre-Christian symbol that relates to nature worship. The ancients envisioned their world in two halves, masculine and feminine. This pentacle is representative of the female half of all things, a concept religious historians call the sacred feminine, or divine goddess.
I like how they're not actually looking at each other. That, like, their eye lines are past each other.
Got a symbol on his stomach? Interesting.
So there's Exhibit 7, which I cannot examine. But instead I can check out his blocky
The position of his
feet.
feet reinforces the reference to the pentacle and the sacred feminine.
I beg your pardon?
Replication. Repeating a symbol is the simplest way to strengthen its meaning. Jacques Sonnier positioned himself in the shape of a five-pointed star.
He would have tried to spread his legs farther apart,
Analysis.
but he's not that limber anymore. He just can't. And then there's this stack of, it looks like a big towel, but that's actually his
He stripped himself
clothes.
naked, folded his clothes, and put them away from himself?
Pardon?
It's rather meticulous for a dying man. I think he was trying to show us that everything he did had a purpose. Even his nudity may have meaning.
What do you think about...
You can find meaning in his balls.
Obviously, he had nothing else to write with.
Actually, I believe he used blood such that the police would follow certain forensic procedures.
I'm sorry?
Look at his left hand.
And now I can examine his left hand.
He's clutching a large felt-tip marker. It smells like alcohol.
That marker was drinking.
Sonnier was holding it when we found him. As I told you, we have touched nothing. Are you familiar with this kind of light? As you may know, police use blacklight illumination to search crime scenes for blood and other forensic evidence.
Now
So
consider
imagine our surprise.
this, that CSI as a TV show only had existed for
That,
3
monsieur, is
years
precisely the
before the book
question
was
you
written.
are here to answer.
Part of it looks like a
Oh,
numeric cipher.
draconian devil.
Yes,
Oh,
our cryptographers
lame
are already
saint.
working on it. We believe these numbers may be the key to who killed him, but the text appears to be an accusation of some sort. Wouldn't you agree?
An accusation against his murder makes sense, I suppose.
Sonnier was a Frenchman. He lived in Paris, and yet he chose to write this message.
In English.
Précisément, Monsieur Langdon. I've seen a
Précisément.
lot of death in my work, and let me tell you something. When a man is murdered by another man, I do not believe his final thoughts are to write an obscure spiritual statement that no one will understand. I believe he is thinking of one thing only. La vengeance. I believe Sonnier wrote this note to tell us who killed him.
Except, does that explain the numbers,
You told me Sonia
or
was
why
attacked by
he
someone
painted
had apparently invited
the
in.
pentacle on his
Considering the
on his
circumstances,
stomach,
I would
or
assume that if Sonia wanted to tell you who killed
why
you,
he took off
he
his
would have written down
clothes?
somebody's name.
Précisement. One moment, please. Oui?
Like, if you only look at the text itself, you're also ignoring the other evidence.
Unacceptable. I made it very clear.
Captain, please excuse the interruption, but
Ce n'est pas le moment.
I have deciphered the numeric code. But before I explain, I have an urgent message for Mr. Langdon.
For Mr. Langdon?
The U.S. Embassy asked that you phone in as soon as possible. While I explain the code to Captain Fash, you need to make this call.
The code is basically a Fibonacci sequence. They're going to talk about it. It's not going to be very interesting. Their conversation just plays on a loop as I attempt to mess around with this Nokia old-timey telephone.
I'm sorry, Miss Nauvoo. I think you may have given me the wrong...
No, that is the right number. It's the 3-digit code on the paper I gave you.
But...
The embassy has an automated message system. You have to dial an access code to pick up your messages. Yes.
She handed me a note. I should look at that.
I already know the, oh man, I have to check it anyway, even though I already know the number.
Ah, this is the number I'm supposed to call.
Now look how quickly he pulls that business card away. It's like, sorry, you don't get to look.
It is the Fibonacci sequence, a progression in which each term is equal to the sum of the two preceding terms.
Never heard of it.
Monsieur Langdon, do not react to this message. Just listen calmly. You are in danger right now.
Dun dun
Follow the
dun.
directions very closely. Tell Fash the phone message is regarding an injured friend back home. Then ask to use the restroom at the end of the Grand Gallery. Captain, considering what you have at stake here tonight, I thought you might appreciate knowing that Jacques Saunière might be playing games with you. Apparently not. I will inform the Director of Cryptography you no longer need our services.
Is everything all right?
An accident. A friend. I'll need to fly home first thing in the morning.
Would you like to sit down?
Actually, I think I'd like to use the restroom.
The restrooms are at the end of the Grand Gallery. Shall I accompany you?
Not necessary.
Shall I help you aim
Like a few minutes
at the urinal?
I must return to Monsieur
I would not want you to
office
slip.
for a moment. Please come find me directly when you are finished in La Toilette. There is more we need to discuss.
Thank God you came. We don't have much time. I wanted to warn you, Monsieur Langdon, you are sous surveillance cachée, under a guarded observation.
But why?
But
Because
why?
Fash's primary suspect in this murder is you. Look in your jacket pocket. You will find proof they are tracking you. Just look.
What is this?
It's a GPS tracking dot. It continuously transmits its location to a global positioning system satellite that the DCPJ can monitor.
Now how does he know that
Use
she
it to
isn't
locate
tracking
those
him?
locations. It's accurate within 2 feet anywhere on the globe. They have.
I mean,
you
she's
on
not
the
tracking him, and it's
location
actually the
sent to
police
run.
captain who's
In fact,
tracking him.
They hope you do run.
But how does
Because
he
your
know
case
it?
much stronger.
Why would I run? I'm innocent.
Do you recall the 3 lines of text that Sonia?
Why would I run? I'm not played by Tom Cruise. I'm played by Tom Hanks.
The complete message.
Why would Senior write this? Was he trying to frame me?
No.
I like how the game doesn't bother showing you what he wrote. And when it does, it's in a really blurry photo.
Ensuring that I would know as soon as possible what had happened to him.
Why you specifically? How do you know it wasn't for some other cryptographer?
PS is the nickname he called me when I lived with him. It stood for Princess Sophie. We had a falling out 10 years ago. Jacques Saunière, he was my grandfather.
Where's Langdon? Still in the men's room, sir. We are
He always called me PS. It stood for postscript. Our conversations would go on, and on, with constant additional refrains.
Fine.
Why would Senior write this?
Langdon, we found the document.
Refrains.
Fine.
What should I do?
Fash will be taking you into custody any minute. I can get you out of here, but we need to act now.
You want me to run?
It's the smartest thing you could do. If you stay, you will spend weeks in a French jail. But if you get to your embassy, then your government can protect you while I prove you had nothing to do with this murder.
Forget it. You need to tell Fosh that the message on the floor was for you, and that my name is not there as an accusation.
Fash is convinced you are guilty. The only way to get you out is with a distraction.
The GPS tracking?
Notice how she doesn't bother explaining why she's not going to tell the police captain.
The cars going by, I bet a lot of the police would clear out. But the tracking dot does not weigh much more than a gram. See if you can find something to attach it to that would make it heavier.
Now, is that going to stop the tracking dot from falling? Is it so light that it cannot fall? Now, admittingly, I suppose that makes it easier for the ability to throw it.
Come, help me open this window.
Alarm! Grand Galerie! Toilette, messieurs! Where's Langdon? Still in the men's room. He must have broken the window. I knew it! He is trying to escape.
Quick, Robert!
Why is she trying to lift the sill? Is that the window or is that the sill? Mashing. Damn it.
Hurry, Robert!
There we go.
Good. Now put the GPS tracking dot inside the soap and throw it out the window.
Actually, hold on. Damn it. The soap has some weight to it. A high-tech GPS tracker. Okay, I'll throw it out so that that police siren can keep going.
He jumped! I'm showing the signal out on Place du Carousel outside the bathroom window, and it is not moving at all. Oh, Dieu! I think Langdon has just committed suicide.
Here's someone coming. Quick, Robert! Hide!
Wait! Oh, he is moving! Oh my God! He is alive! Langdon is moving. He must be in a car. I think he is in a car. I can't...
He got the information that Langdon is on the move, so the first thing he does is check the closest stalls by kicking. Fortunately, he gave up after 2 stalls. Otherwise, he would have actually caught me.
Bring my car round. I want to be there when we make the arrest.
Interesting how the French police captain speaks to his subordinates in English. But now that the police have cleared out, it's up to us to solve the crime.
Oh, lame saint. The scrambled Fibonacci sequence is a clue. The numbers are a hint as to how to decipher the rest of the message. He wrote the sequence out of order to tell us to apply the same concept to the text. Oh, draconian devil. Oh, lame saint. Those lines mean nothing. They are simply letters written out of order.
You think this message is an anagram? Like a word jumbled from a newspaper?
Your grandfather's meaning was right in front of us all along, and he left us more than enough clues to see it. Let me see that photo.
Okay, so apparently the draconian devil part is not important, just the oh lame sane part. And also, if the Fibonacci sequence was written out of order for the purposes of divining meaning from the phrase, then why can I not look at the Fibonacci sequence itself? I can't actually leave the puzzle. I can get hints from Sophie, and that's it. I can't actually look at the sequence. But, like I said, I've already done this puzzle. It is... Mona Lisa. Ah, damn it. decrypted.
The Mona Lisa. Leonardo da Vinci. I can't imagine how your grandfather created such intricate anagrams in the minutes before he died.
My grandfather probably created these anagrams long ago. What is important is that he wanted me to see something at the painting.
You're going to the Mona Lisa? Now?
I am
Now,
a murder suspect.
the question is, why did he make a anagram long ago in English?
The signs will lead you to a security turnstile. Mine is the car in the employee lot.
Now, Mona Lisa is a name, but it still has the word "the" at the beginning.
Whatever
It's
my
not
grandfather
Le Mona
said,
Lisa.
tell me.
It is
Don't
the
leave
Mona
anyone
Lisa.
else to find it. As strange as it may sound, I think he wants me to get to the Mona Lisa before anyone else does.
I'll come.
No. We don't know how long the Grand Gallery will stay empty. You have to go now. I will see you at the embassy, Monsieur Langdon.
And then they go their separate ways.
Oh, grand-père, why did you do this to yourself? What was so important that you needed me to see? You always did like to play word games with me when I was little.
So, before we continue, let's consider what her grandpops did in order to arrange himself. Now, this is the video game version. Probably the book version did not have such a long corridor. Also, if the gate... So he gets shot over here by this painting. He knocks the painting over, which causes the gates to lower down. And then he must have fallen down here and then got shot. Like... It's probably not easy to try to shoot somebody through a gate like that. Like, why couldn't he just run over here? Then he would have been okay. But instead he gets shot. And then he makes his way without losing any blood. Notice the lack of blood tracks. He makes his way... Well, he must have been, like, really clutching, like, so much pressure on that wound that, like, there's no way blood can escape. All the way over here, takes off his clothes, writes down a message on the floor, including an anagram, and a message for cryptographers, paints himself in blood, covers up his junk, and then waits for death. In that time, could he have seen a doctor? Gotten some medical attention? Either way, now let's go find a UV light so we could properly examine the Mona Lisa. But Sophie is not allowed in this space.
If the officer sees me, he will not let me pass. I must sneak by him.
And of course, the tutorial boxes are larger than my character.
So far, so good. I have to knock out that officer to get to the evidence. This should be useful. This could be useful to knock someone out.
You don't stand a chance!
Oh my god. It would be nice to be able to actually see what's going on. Ah, thank you.
Would you really hit a lid?
The answer is, I guess, yes.
that?
I would imagine if I would have done a little bit better of a job sneaking up on him if I was able to see him. Or myself, for that matter. Or the item I was picking up.
These things are always breaking.
Now, I guess I don't really have to drag this guy anywhere. But I do need some evidence, such as... it's a bottle full of chemicals. What about these gloves? Used by crime scene investigators. And this brush. It's a brush used to investigate crime scenes.
I got it.
Ha! I got it! Luckily, I don't have to worry about sneaking by anywhere else. Just yet.
There you are.
Robert, I told you to get out of here. If Vash...
Where were you?
I had to get the black light. If my grandfather left me a message, I thought they told you to leave.
Why did Senier write my name on the floor? P.S. Find Robert Langdon. The letters P.S. may mean Princess Sophie, but do they mean anything else to you? Anything at all?
Yes. I saw the initials PS once, when I was very young.
Sophie, this is crucial. Can you tell me if the initials appeared with a symbol? A fleur-de-lis?
How could you possibly know that?
I'm fairly
It's
certain
because I've been reading your old mail.
Society. The fleur-de-lis combined with the initials P.S. That is the Brotherhood's official coat of arms. They call themselves the Priory of Sion. The Priory's membership has included some of history's most cultured individuals. Men like Botticelli, Sir Isaac Newton, Victor Hugo, and more importantly, Leonardo da Vinci. The identities of living Priory members are kept extremely secret. But the P.S. and fleur-de-lis that you saw as a child would make sense if tonight were Priory related.
There is a lot we need to discuss, but I cannot afford to let them capture you, Robert.
Sonier obviously brought us together for a reason. I'm staying until we figure this out.
Fine, then help me. My grandfather wanted us to see this painting for a reason. There must be a message hidden here.
It smells like alcohol. Where have I smelled that before?
It's when you were drinking all that booze.
I cannot go...
You lush.
What is this?
So it's...
like random symbols.
now that's implying that
Whatever ever did was random.
he also used that same marker to put a message
The arrangement of these symbols seems to indicate word groups.
hovering above the Mona Lisa. So he had that bullet with his gut and he just wandered the whole museum.
An encrypted substitution cipher.
So this was, I admit, this was a huge pain in the butt. It took me probably a good 10, 15, 20 minutes. Unfortunately, because of that, I already know the answer. Now, you could ask for hints, and this one has somewhat confusing hints. So actually, I should play
photography is
those.
your specialty. Any ideas?
Well, there are several things that are important to remember, but a lot of it has to do with how common a letter, sound, or word is.
Well, I was wondering if you had anything specific to tell me about this encrypted message.
As you can see, this symbol is the most common one. As a result, I believe it is the letter E.
Which symbol is this symbol? Well, they're not going to tell you. You're just going to have to find out which symbol yourself. But especially...
Still don't get it. Any other ideas?
This world's first and last symbol are the same. This means it is most likely the word that.
Now, another thing that kind of held me back is I was looking for actual words and not names. I didn't realize it started off with Da Vinci, but that really should have been obvious. But who the hell are Bacchus and Uriel? I don't have that kind of education. Decrypted. Now, from now on,
Bacchus and Uriel?
all of my attempts at doing puzzles will be absolutely awful.
I'm not mistaken.
I guarantee it.
Painting of Bacchus in the Grand Gallery, and
Unless, of
Uriel
course,
is Da
other
Vinci's Madonna of the Rock.
recording
Should be
foibles
there too.
show up.
Let's go.
Robert Langdon, you are under arrest.
Wait.
I arrest you in the name of my tiny goatee.
Agent Navu, innocent or not, I have direct orders to arrest Robert Langdon on sight.
I'm sorry, but I can't go to jail until I help Sophie find the real murderer.
You are working together?
Robert, look
Notice he ignores the part about real murderer. Damn it. Now it's giving me the tutorial again? Oh yeah, because I technically I didn't succeed the first time. Now, because I have this second person with me, they also can help me out.
I think that's enough.
Luckily for them, Robert Langdon is a professor of pain.
You'll be all right.
Oh yeah, and I almost forgot. I probably should grab this. And I think I am done in this room. Thank you for watching. If you've still got the itch for more content, why not give one of those links a try? Got some questions or comments? You can comment down below or send it on over to itsoundedgoodonpaper@gmail.com. That's itsoundedgoodonpaper@gmail.com. In the meantime, so long, folks.